What an incredible story Peter Baker wrote this weekend about people connected with Ronald Reagan interfering with a possible release of Iranian hostages. Give us your thoughts as somebody who worked for Jimmy Carter and on Peter Baker's reporting.
Well, it's an amazing story, and it fills in some of the holes. I mean, I was on Air Force One in Chicago at 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, right before the 1980 election. And the president I could hear the noise in the hallway. The president was racing back to the White House with word that the mullahs in Tehran might possibly be about to release the hostages. So I called the National Security Council, and I got the word that that was what was going on. It was very close. It looked like things were changing, that the election was going to go the other way. We were going to win the election. Went back to Washington. Carter decided, after looking at the real terms that the Iranians were setting, that the Ayatollah were setting, and they were too extreme. We couldn't get through them. And so he had to go on national television the Sunday before the election and say, I'd like to be able to tell you when the hostages would be returning. I cannot do it. And it was a thud. It was, oh, my God, we're going to lose this thing bad. Yeah. And that's what happened. And it was a terrible moment. But it seemed close. And the reporting by Peter, as always, was excellent. And Ben Barnes, to me, is a very credible witness. I know the guy pretty well. He's a very strong Democrat, actually. And the John Connally trip over there to talk to the Arab nations, all of them, to try to urge the Ayatollah and the Islamic government in Tehran to keep the hostages till Reagan came into office. They'll make a better deal with you. Boy, that is so horrible. If that happened, and then perhaps other efforts to create a October surprise, another effort to thwart Carter. It was horrible what happened.
Well, reading from Peter's reporting as if he's not here, what Joe just mentioned, of course, this new reporting from the New York Times detailing all of this. Ben Barnes said he remembers it vividly. His longtime political mentor invited him on a mission to the Middle East. It was 1980. And Jimmy Carter was in the White House, bedeviled by a hostage crisis in Iran that had paralyzed his presidency and hampered his effort to win a second term. His mentor was John B. Connally, Jr., a former Democrat. Mr. Connally had sought the Republican nomination in 1980, only to be swamped by former Governor Ronald Reagan in California. Now Mr. Connally resolved to help Mr. Reagan beat Mr. Carter, and in the process, Mr. Barnes said, make his own case for becoming Secretary of State or Defense in a new administration. What happened next? Mr. Barnes has largely kept secret for nearly 43 years. Mr. Connally, he said, took him to one Middle Eastern capital after another that summer, meeting with a host of regional leaders to deliver a blunt message to be passed to Iran. Don't release the hostages before the election. Mr. Reagan will win and give you a better deal. Joe.
Yeah, Peter Baker, it's a 4-decade-old secret. Wish it would have come out earlier, because there are a lot of questions, obviously, that haven't been answered, and you bring them up. First of all, we don't know. Did Ronald Reagan know about this? Did Casey know about this? If it was such a great deal for Ronald Reagan and it was Connally's bid to be Secretary of State, why did he get offered Secretary of Energy and then refuse it in a huff? But this is obviously, it speaks extraordinarily badly of Connally. And I'm curious, what is the closest nexus to Reagan to suggest that at least people in the campaign may have known? Any evidence there?
Yeah, Joe, I think it's important to remember what we don't know. Exactly right. Ben Barnes can talk about what he saw. He was in the room for these meetings, but he doesn't know what he doesn't know. What he doesn't know, of course, is what Governor Reagan knew about it or not. Now, there are some intriguing, hints, right? In John Connally's files, in the archives that I got a chance to look at, there is a note on the third day of their trip that says Nancy Reagan called and wants you to be part of the strategy sessions. Okay, we don't know if Connally returned the call, if he was part of any strategy sessions or not. We do know, according to Ben Barnes, that when they get back from this trip, the two of them meet at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport in an airport lounge with Bill Casey. You mentioned Bill Casey. He, of course, was the former World War II spy who is running Reagan's campaign, later becomes CIA director under President Reagan. And a lot of these suspicions about an October surprise scenario have always figured around Casey. In fact, that was the main allegation at first, was that Casey was making a deal with the Iranians in Madrid in the summer of 1980. Now, congressional reports have said, no, we don't think he was in Madrid. We don't have evidence anyway that he was in Madrid, and lots of evidence to suggest he wasn't. So those theories have often been seen as debunked. But the fact that Connally did report to Casey, according to Ben Barnes, is intriguing. Now, we don't know, did Casey ask him to make this trip? We don't know. Did the message get to the Iranians? We don't know. Did the Iranians act as a result of it? We don't know. So all we can say is what we do know. We do know is John Connally, according to Ben Barnes, made an effort at least to get Iran to keep the hostages until after the election.
And Chris Matthews, I've got to say, given the timing that Peter laid out, the circumstantial evidence that at least Casey knew about it, the future CIA director for Reagan, very strong, and in that casts a shadow over 1980, much like there was a shadow cast over 1968 and the possibility of people connected with Nixon interfering with peace talks.
With Madame Chennault, yeah. Well, just imagine if this story that Peter ran on the front page of the New York Times had ran any time before the 1980 election. We were on Air Force One. I was one of President Carter's speechwriters. And I got to tell you, if we had gotten the word that the October surprise was not a theory, it was a reality, that the Republicans were working to upset the election to prevent Carter from getting the hostages back and saving his presidency. This is the biggest story in the world. Imagine how it would have changed the debate with Carter and Reagan, where Reagan would have been thrown on the defensive. He would have to defend what his buddy was doing over there. What was Connally doing there? Why was Bill Casey, who also took the Carter debate book, and he was so much involved in the Reagan campaign, Casey. He's not some distant character. He's getting this stuff from John Connally in September of 1980. If we had gotten that story from Ben Barnes, and I'm so glad he finally came out with this story, if we had had that story, it would have exploded everything. The hostages were the key. The nightly news, Meeka knows this, the night before the 1980 election, the lead story on the major networks, and we had to give this to Carter when he got back on the plane. The leading story was the hostage, 365 days of the hostage crisis. That was the story. The presidential election was the next day. It was not only the second story. It was the hugest story in the world. And it's just unimaginable what we would have done with this news, and we didn't get it when it mattered. And that's a fact.
I can hardly imagine what the National Security Advisor would have said, Zbigniew Brzezinski would have said had he been given this information in a timely manner. I must say, Meeka, again, we want to be careful, as Peter was very careful to say, no evidence that Reagan knew about this or direct evidence that Casey knew about this. But listen, we've all been around politics enough to know that a guy who is connected to a leading presidential candidate who wants to be Secretary of State, very, very unlikely that that person who had been in politics for decades would go rogue at that point on such on such a risky mission.
I remember this time vividly. I was a child, but I remember it vividly, and just this revelation, Peter's reporting, it's dysregulating me. I got to tell you, it is just
very painful,
horrible.
I think, for everybody.
All right, let's get to one of our other top stories this morning. A Manhattan